I'm David Harrington. In 24 years of investigating homicides, I've learned one thing: coincidence doesn't exist 4 times, not in the same room, not with the same details, and definitely not when every single victim's family says the same thing. Something was wrong with that hotel room. Detroit, Michigan. The Riverside Grand Hotel, built in 1924, survived the Depression, watched the city rise and fall. Room 348, third floor corner suite, view of the Detroit River. Between 2014 and 2017, 4 people died in that room. The police called it natural causes, heart attacks, strokes, 1 accidental fall. The medical examiner signed off. The hotel management expressed condolences and moved on. But here's what the police didn't see. Here's what took me 6 months to uncover. Every single time, the same 2 details: an open window, even in the middle of winter, and a picture frame on the nightstand, always found face down. 4 deaths, 4 open windows, 4 overturned frames. The first victim was a 52-year-old businessman. The second, a 31-year-old teacher. The third, a 67-year-old retiree. The fourth, a 24-year-old graduate student. They had nothing in common: different backgrounds, different reasons for staying at the hotel, different lives. Except one thing: they all checked into room 348, and they all checked out in body bags. When Marcus Chen, my criminal psychologist, saw the pattern, he said something that made my blood run cold. "David, this isn't about the victims. This is about the room. Someone or something is tied to that space." The hotel closed room 348 in 2018, sealed it, said it was being renovated. But when Jake Morrison, my street investigator, talked to the night staff, they told him the truth. Nobody goes near that room anymore, not even for cleaning. We hear things, footsteps, whispers, and every morning the door is open, even though we lock it every night. 4 people walked into room 348 alive. None of them walked out. The police closed the cases, but I'm reopening them because I found something in the hotel's archives, something that connects every single victim to a death that happened in 1987 in room 348, and whoever or whatever is still in that room isn't finished yet. Detroit, Michigan, America's Motor City, once the automotive capital of the world, now a symbol of collapse and rebirth. November 2017. The Riverside Grand Hotel, located in the heart of the city, overlooking the Detroit River. A historic building constructed in 1924, Art Deco architecture, 12 floors, 180 rooms. It survived the Great Depression, witnessed Detroit's golden age, then faded with the city, forgotten, abandoned, but still standing. In early 2024, independent investigator David Harrington was working with his team on another case in Detroit. One evening, while staying at the hotel, an elderly man working the night shift at reception approached David. His name was Gerald Thompson. Gerald was 68 years old and had worked at this hotel for 40 years. His eyes were tired but sharp, his face etched with deep lines, his hands trembling slightly. He knew who David was. He followed dark case files online. "Mr. Harrington," Gerald said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I need to talk to you. There's something I've kept inside for years." David sat down in the leather chairs in the corner of the lobby. Gerald took the seat across from him, glanced around to make sure no one was listening. "Room 348, Gerald said. "Something's been happening in that room for years, and nobody's investigating it." David pulled out his notebook. "What kind of things?" Gerald took a deep breath. "From 2014 to 2017, over 3 years, 4 people died in that room. 4 different people, no connection between them, but all in the same room, and all found the same way." David's attention sharpened. "What do you mean?" "The window. Open. Every single time, even in the middle of winter, and the picture frame on the nightstand, always turned face down. David frowned. What did the police say? Gerald gave a bitter smile. The police. Natural causes, they said. Heart attack, stroke, accident. They closed the files. Hotel management paid compensation, apologized to the families, closed the case. But I know. There's something in that room. Something evil. David thanked Gerald and got the room number. When morning came, he called a team meeting. Team members: Marcus Chen, 41 years old, criminal psychologist and profiler. Quiet, analytical, observing every detail. Jackson, Jake Morrison, 52 years old, former police detective, street smart, 30 years of experience. And Elena Cortez, 29 years old, investigative journalist, expert in digital footprint tracking. David explained the situation. Marcus was immediately intrigued. 4 deaths, same room, same details. This can't be coincidence. Either there's a killer or there's a psychological trigger. Jake added, I worked in Detroit in the 80s. I remember the Riverside Grand. Had a bad reputation back then. Drugs, crime, everything. Elena opened her tablet. I'm starting the research. Hotel records, death reports, old news articles. I'll find everything. David nodded. Let's dig into this. But what nobody knew, the deaths in room 348 didn't start in 2014. The real story went much further back, to 1987, and the woman who died in that room that year had never left. Elena accessed the archives of the Detroit Police Department. The first recorded death in room 348, March 15, 2014, 7:20 a.m. Victim, Thomas Allen Brennan, 52 years old, businessman from Chicago, in Detroit for an auto parts trade show. Thomas checked into the hotel at 9 p.m. on March 14th. He got the key to room 348 from reception, single occupancy. He didn't talk to anyone in the lobby, went straight to his room. At 12:30 a.m., a hotel security guard making routine corridor rounds noticed the door to room 348 was slightly ajar. He knocked. No answer. He went inside. Thomas Brennan was lying in bed, motionless. The security guard approached, checked for a pulse. No pulse. He immediately called 911. Emergency response teams arrived. The doctor pronounced Thomas dead. Initial examination: suspected heart attack. Autopsy result: acute myocardial infarction. Natural death. Family was notified. Body was sent to Chicago. Case closed. But when David read the autopsy report more carefully, he noticed a detail. In the autopsy notes, minor scratches on victim's face, as if clawed, however not severe, may have been self-inflicted during panic attack before death. David asked Marcus, do people having heart attacks scratch themselves? Marcus thought for a moment. It's possible. Panic, inability to breathe, chest pain, but usually they clutch their chest area. Scratching their face is less common. Second detail, the hotel security report. Window in room 348 found open. Victim presumably opened it for fresh air. Jake asked, March 15th, Detroit. What was the temperature? Elena checked. That night was 2 degrees, freezing. David frowned. Would a 52-year-old man with heart problems open a window in freezing weather? Marcus added. And the picture frame. The report says frame on nightstand found turned face down. Why would someone turn over a picture frame before dying? David took notes. First victim, suspicious details, but police ruled natural death. Let's continue. Second victim, August 8, 2015, 6:45 a.m. Victim, Jennifer Lynn Caldwell, 31 years old, elementary school teacher from Ann Arbor, in Detroit for an education seminar. Jennifer checked in at 7 p.m. on August 7th, room 348. She chatted with friends in the lobby, seemed cheerful and happy. At 10 p.m. she went up to her room. The next morning, at 9 a.m. the seminar began, but Jennifer didn't show up. Organizers were concerned, called her phone. No answer. They notified hotel staff. A housekeeper went to room 348. Door was locked. They opened it with a key. Jennifer was lying on the floor in front of the bathroom door, motionless. The housekeeper screamed. Ambulance arrived. Doctor pronounced Jennifer dead. Autopsy: massive intracranial hemorrhage. Brain bleed. Cause of death: natural. presumably a congenital aneurysm ruptured. Case closed. But again, the window was open. August 8th, Detroit. Temperature 28 cert, middle of summer. Air conditioning available, but window open. And the picture frame was turned face down again. Jennifer's family, her sister Rachel, filed a complaint with police. Jennifer didn't have a condition like that. She went to doctors regularly. If there was risk of a brain aneurysm, we would have known. Police, sometimes these conditions progress without symptoms. We're sorry. Natural death. David examined Jennifer's medical records. Rachel was right. Jennifer's last checkup was 3 months prior. An MRI had been done. Brain scan was clean. No sign of aneurysm. Marcus, can an aneurysm grow large enough to rupture in 3 months? David, theoretically yes, but the probability is very low. Jake, what about pressure? What if someone harmed Jennifer? David, no external trauma in the autopsy report. No skull fracture. No signs of assault. Elena, but there could be internal trauma. Poison. Drugs. David, toxicology test was done. Clean. No alcohol. Drugs. Poison. 2 deaths. 2 natural causes. But in both rooms the same 2 details. Open window. Overturned frame. Coincidence? David didn't believe it, because the 3rd and 4th victims were even stranger. November 22, 2016, 5:30 a.m. Victim Harold George Stevens, 67 years old, retired engineer from Florida, in Detroit to visit his grandson. Harold checked in on the evening of November 21st, room 348, single occupancy. He appeared healthy, chatted with the receptionist in the lobby, was cheerful. On the morning of November 22nd, when the housekeeper entered the room for cleaning, she found Harold dead in bed. Ambulance arrived. Autopsy, ischemic stroke, blood clot in brain vessels, natural death. Again, window open. November 22nd, Detroit, temperature 0 degrees. Again, picture frame face down. Harold's family, his son Michael, protested to police. My father was healthy. He exercised regularly. He never had heart or vascular problems. How could he have a stroke? Police, 67 years old. Age is a risk factor. We're sorry. David obtained Harold's medical records. Michael was right. Harold had a full checkup 6 months prior. Vascular system was clean. Cholesterol was low. Stroke risk was minimal. Marcus, 3 victims. All 3 natural deaths, but all 3 in room 348. All 3 with window open. Frame overturned. Jake, someone's doing something in this room. Carbon monoxide. Gas leak. David, no signs of poisoning in the autopsies. Carbon monoxide changes the color of blood. It would show in autopsy. Eleni, electric shock. Radiation. David, electric shock leaves tissue damage. Radiation takes time, doesn't kill immediately. Marcus, what about psychological? What if there's something in the room that causes people to experience fear, panic, triggering heart attack, brain hemorrhage, stroke? David paused. Can fear kill? Marcus, yes. Extreme fear, adrenaline surge, can create shock in the body, especially in people with pre-existing risk. But for it to happen this often, the room would have to be truly terrifying. May 3, 2017, 8:00 a.m. Victim, Ashley Marie Palmer, 24 years old, recent university graduate, in Detroit for a job interview, checked into room 348 for one night. Ashley arrived at the hotel at 8:30 p.m. on May 2nd, young, energetic. At the beginning of her life, she chatted with reception, posted on Instagram, job interview in Detroit, wish me luck. On the morning of May 3rd, Ashley didn't come down to the lobby at checkout time, 11 a.m. Reception called, no answer. Staff went up to the room. Ashley was in the bathroom, lying in the bathtub. Her head had fallen into the water. Suspected drowning. Ambulance arrived. Pronounced dead. Autopsy. Drowning. Cause of death. Accident. Presumably fell asleep in the tub. Head fell into water. Drowned. But according to Ashley's family, Ashley would never fall asleep in a bathtub. Ashley wouldn't even doze in the shower. As a child, she nearly drowned once. She was afraid of water. She would never fall asleep in a tub. Police. Fatigue. Stress. Accident. And of course, window was open. Picture frame was turned face down. 4 deaths, 4 different methods, but all natural or accidental. David looked at the team. I'm certain now. Something's happening in room 348. Police didn't see it, because each death is technically explainable, but there's a pattern. Same room, same details. Marcus, serial killer. David, if so, very clever. Leaves no trace, no physical evidence, no sign of violence. Jake, hotel staff. Maybe someone's entering the room and doing something. Elena, but how? Over 3 years, at 4 different times, 4 different people. How are they killing them? And why only room 348? David, to find the answer, we need to go into that room. But David didn't know. Room 348 had been locked since 2018, officially closed for renovation. The real reason, everyone working night shifts at the hotel stayed far away from that room. Because every night, even though the room was locked, sounds came from inside, footsteps, whispers, and every morning, the door was found open. David instructed Jake, talk to hotel staff, especially those who've been working since before 2014. Besides Gerald, who else is there? Jake spent a few days tracking down former employees. Cleaning staff Maria Rodriguez, 55 years old, working at the hotel for 20 years. Jake met Maria at a cafe. Maria looked nervous. You're talking about room 348. Jake nodded. Yes. What's happening in that room, Maria? Maria lowered her head. I don't clean that room. Not since 2015. Management assigns it to someone else. Why? Maria hesitated, then whispered, because there's something there. Something bad. I saw it. Jake leaned forward. What did you see? In 2015, after that girl Jennifer died, the hotel sent me to clean the room the next day. When I went inside, the room was so cold, air conditioning was off, but it was ice cold, and in the mirror, I saw something in the mirror. What did you see? A woman, long hair, white dress, standing in the mirror, behind me. I turned around, nobody there, looked at the mirror again. She was still there. I screamed, ran, never went back in that room. Jake, who else saw something? Maria, night security guards. They all hear things, footsteps, crying sounds. Once in 2016, security guard Jerry was making his rounds at night, saw room 348's door was open. He looked inside. Room was empty, but window was open, and the picture frame was on the floor, broken. Jerry quit that night. Jake thanked her, called David. David, hotel staff are talking about paranormal activity. A woman's ghost, seen in mirrors, sounds heard. David wasn't convinced. There are no ghosts, Jake, but someone might be using this legend, scaring staff away from the room so they can move more freely. Marcus, or there really is a psychological trigger, maybe subliminal sounds, frequencies in the room, something that unsettles people. Elena, I'm researching the hotel's history, looking at records from 1924 onward. Found something interesting in 1987. Elena projected a newspaper clipping on screen. Detroit Free Press, June 12, 1987. Woman found dead in hotel room. Article. A 32-year-old woman was found dead in room 348 of the Riverside Grand Hotel. Victim's identity, Margaret Ann Lawson, Detroit resident. Cause of death, drug overdose, suicide. Crime scene investigators found drugs and alcohol bottles in the room. According to Margaret's family, the woman was undergoing treatment for depression. Police found no suspicious circumstances in the incident. David, 1987, 27 years ago. Margaret Lawson, Elena. Yes, and look, there's more in the article details. When Margaret's body was found, the window was open, and the picture frame on the nightstand was turned face down. The room fell silent. Marcus, so, these details have existed since 1987. When Margaret died, the same thing happened. David, who was Margaret? Research her, Elena. Elena dug deeper. Margaret Ann Lawson, born 1955, grew up in Detroit, worked at the Riverside Grand Hotel from 1975, position, floor attendant, and later reception assistant. In 1985, Margaret left the hotel, reason unknown. Between 1986-1987, she received psychological treatment, diagnosed with depression, anxiety, paranoia. June 12, 1987, Margaret returned to the Riverside Grand Hotel, checked into room 348. Why that room? because Margaret had cleaned that room for 10 years. The room held special meaning for her. That night, Margaret overdosed, found dead in the morning. Elena, Margaret's family, didn't believe the suicide theory. Her sister gave an interview to the newspaper. Margaret wasn't suicidal. Yes, she had depression, but she was getting treatment. Someone killed her. I'm sure of it. David, what did police say? Elena, suicide. Case closed. Family complained, but there was no evidence. Hotel management apologized. Paid compensation. Matter closed. Jake, so Margaret died in room 348 in 1987, and since then, that room's been cursed. Marcus, not cursed, but maybe Margaret's death triggered something. Maybe she left something in the room. David, like what? Marcus, I don't know, but all 4 of these deaths follow the same pattern as Margaret's death. Open window, overturned frame. Maybe the killer is recreating Margaret's death. Maybe the killer is someone close to Margaret. David decided to find Margaret's family. In 1987, Margaret's sister gave an interview. Linda Lawson. Elena found Linda. She was now 70 years old, still living in Detroit. David and Marcus visited Linda. Linda lived alone in a small house. When she opened the door, her eyes filled with tears. Are you going to talk about Margaret? David, yes, we have questions about your sister's death in 1987. Linda invited them in. The living room was filled with photographs, pictures of Margaret, a young, beautiful, smiling woman. Linda, Margaret didn't commit suicide. I always knew, but nobody believed me. David, why didn't they believe you? Linda, because Margaret had depression, but there was a reason. Margaret saw something at the hotel. In 1985, she saw something, and it scared her. Marcus, what did she see? Linda, I don't know. Margaret didn't tell me. She just said, there's something in room 348, something terrible, and I found out about it right after she quit the hotel. The next 2 years, she was constantly in treatment. Doctors said paranoia, but Margaret wasn't paranoid. She saw something real. David, why did Margaret go back to that room? Linda cried. I don't know. Maybe to prove it, maybe to protect others, but someone killed her. I'm sure of it. David, who would kill her? Linda, whatever's in room 348, or whoever's protecting it. Margaret saw something in 1985, in room 348. That thing scared her enough to need treatment for 2 years, and in 1987, when Margaret returned to that room, she died. Now 30 years later, 4 more people had died in the same room, all with the same details. David asked, is what Margaret saw still there, and is it still killing? David met with hotel management. The manager had been on duty since 2018. Room 348 is closed, needs renovation. David, what kind of renovation? The manager looked uncomfortable. Electrical system, plumbing, old building. David, can we see the room? The manager hesitated. Why? David, we're investigating the old death cases. The manager objected, but David was insistent. Finally, the manager agreed. But you can't go in alone. Security issue. David, Marcus, and Jake, accompanied by a hotel security guard, went up to the 3rd floor. The corridor was dark and silent. When they reached the door to room 348, the security guard took out a key and opened the door. Cold air came from inside. They entered the room. The room looked normal. Single bed, nightstand, old armchair, window, bathroom. But the atmosphere was strange, heavy, suffocating. Marcus, temperatures very low. Air conditioning's off, but it's cold. Jake, windows closed. Where's the cold coming from? David examined the room. On the nightstand was a picture frame. Empty. No photo inside. David, is this the frame? Security guard. Yes, Margaret Lawson's frame. From management wanted to throw it out but didn't. Superstition. Marcus picked up the frame, turned it over. Something was written on the back. Handwriting. Margaret, don't forget. Never tell what you saw, or else. Marcus froze. David, look. David read the writing. This is a threat. Someone threatened Margaret. Jake, who? David didn't know, but there was something in the room. On the wall, behind the bed, a small door. It used to connect to the corridor as a service entrance. Now it was painted over, locked. David, where does this door lead? Security guard. Don't know. Old architecture. In the 1920s there were service corridors, not used now. David and Jake tried to open the door. It was locked and stuck. But David noticed. The door's lock mechanism had been used recently. No dust. David, someone's using this door. Yes, there was a hidden service corridor behind room 300. Fought out. In the 1920s, servants used these corridors to access rooms. Cleaning, food service done without guests seeing. In the 1950s, these corridors were closed. Modern elevators and stairs were built. But physically, the corridors were still there, behind the walls. David, someone's using these corridors to secretly enter room 348. Not through the locked door, through the hidden door. Jake, and killing the victims. Marcus, but how? No physical trace. No sign of violence. David, we need to solve this. We need to get into that corridor. At midnight, David, Marcus and Jake, with the security guard's help, went down to the hotel basement. Old laundry area. Unused. Dark, damp. A door in the wall. Locked. Jake picked the lock. They went inside. A narrow corridor. Stone walls. Full of dust and cobwebs. Flashlights on. They moved slowly forward. The corridor went up. Stairs. When they reached the third floor, they came to the back of room 348's hidden door. David pushed the door. It opened. Inside, room 348, empty. But there was something in the room. In the nightstand drawer, David found a notebook. Old, leather-bound. Handwritten inside. Margaret Lawson's diary. David began reading. Last entries, June 1985. Today, while cleaning room 348 again, I saw someone enter through the hidden door. Mr. Thompson, the hotel manager, but there was no guest in the room. What was he doing? I watched secretly. He opened a panel in the room's wall. Inside was a camera, hidden camera. Room 348 was being recorded. Mr. Thompson took the recordings, left. I was shocked. Why is he recording the room? June 15, 1985. I investigated. Mr. Thompson wasn't just recording room 348, but several other rooms, especially rooms where wealthy guests, businessmen stayed. Then he was using the recordings to blackmail them. Terrible. What should I do? June 20, 1985. Mr. Thompson called me. Wanted to talk. I realized he knew. He threatened me. Margaret, never tell what you saw, or I'll destroy you. I'm scared. I'm going to quit. David looked at the team. The hotel manager, in 1985, was secretly recording room 348 with hidden cameras, blackmailing guests. Margaret found out. Thompson threatened her, Marcus, and in 1987, when Margaret returned to that room, Thompson killed her, made it look like suicide. Jake, where's Thompson now? Elena checked her tablet. Gregory Thompson, former hotel manager, resigned in 1989. Official reason, health problems. Died in 1995, heart attack. David, Thompson's dead, but the system's still there. Hidden camera, hidden corridor, and someone's still using it. Marcus, maybe Thompson's partner, or his heir. Elena, Thompson had a son, Michael Thompson, now 52 years old, lives in Detroit. David, find Michael. Michael Thompson lived in a modest house in the Detroit suburbs. David and Jake knocked on his door. Michael was middle-aged, calm-looking man. He was surprised when he opened the door. David, Michael Thompson? Michael, yes. How can I help you? David, I'm with the Dark Case Files team. We're investigating old cases at the Riverside Grand Hotel. We'd like to ask you a few questions about your father, Gregory Thompson. Michael's face changed. My father died 30 years ago. What do you want? David, in 1987, a woman named Margaret Lawson died in room 348. Your father was the hotel manager at the time. Michael tensed. Margaret's death was recorded as suicide. My father had nothing to do with it. David, but your father threatened Margaret, because Margaret discovered your father's illegal camera system. Michael fell silent, then tried to close the door. Jake held the door. "Michael, you should talk." Michael felt helpless, invited them in. Living room was dark, blinds closed, old hotel photos on the wall. Michael sat down, put his head in his hands. "Yes, my father did wrong things, but I just protected it." "David, protected what?" "Michael, my father's system, the hidden cameras. When my father resigned in 1989, the system was still active. My father showed me." "Michael," he said, "these cameras are our insurance. If anyone threatens us, we have recordings of them. So I kept the system." "Marcus, 4 people died in room 348 from 2014 to 2017. Was it you?" Michael raised his head, eyes filling. "No, I didn't kill anyone. But I knew." "David, what do you mean?" "Michael, in 2014, when Thomas Brennan came to that room, I looked at the cameras. Midnight while Thomas was sleeping, something happened in the room. I saw something terrible." "David, what did you see?" Michael trembled. "A woman, white dress, Margaret, Margaret's ghost. She appeared in the room. Thomas woke up, screamed, panicked, had a heart attack, died." "Marcus, there are no ghosts, Michael. What did you really see?" Michael cried. "I don't know. What I saw on camera was a woman. But how can that be? Nobody was in the room." David understood. "You manipulated the camera recordings, added fake images to scare the guests. So they had heart attacks, panicked, died, and you watched." "Michael, no. I just watched. I didn't manipulate. The images were real." "Jake, come on, Michael. There's no such thing as ghosts." Michael took a USB from his bag. "Here are the recordings. See for yourselves." David took the USB, turned to the team. "Let's go. We need to examine these recordings." In David's office, Sam Reeves, the team's forensic expert, examined the USB. Inside were 4 video files. 4 deaths. Sam played the videos. Video 1. Thomas Brennan, 2014, night 12:15 a.m. Thomas is sleeping. Room is dark. Suddenly, a figure appears in the corner of the room. A woman in white dress slowly approaches Thomas. Thomas woke up, saw the woman, screamed, clutched his chest, fell to the floor. Woman disappeared. Video 2. Jennifer Caldwell, 2015, night 2:30 a.m. Jennifer in bathroom, looking at mirror. In the mirror, white-dressed woman appears behind her. Jennifer turned around. Nobody there. Looked at mirror again. Woman still there. Jennifer panicked, tried to run, fell, hit her head on floor, brain hemorrhage, died. Video 3. Harold Stevens, 2016, night 3 a.m. Harold sleeping, white-dressed woman standing by the bed. Harold woke up, saw the woman, went into shock, had a stroke, died. Video 4. Ashley Palmer, 2017, night 1 a.m. Ashley in bathtub. White-dressed woman appeared in bathroom. Ashley screamed, stood up in tub, slipped, head fell in water, drowned. Sam stopped the videos. This, David, could be image manipulation, CGI deepfake. Sam, analyzing. A few hours later, Sam gave the result. Images aren't manipulated. Original camera recordings. No digital alteration. Marcus, so there really is a woman. A ghost. David didn't believe it. No ghosts. But there must be an explanation. Elena, hologram? Projector? Maybe someone secretly entering the room and projecting a hologram. David, let's check. David and the team returned to room 348. This time they examined more carefully. In the ceiling, inside the air conditioning vent, they found a small device. A projector. Jake, here it is. Hologram projector. Someone placed this. Activates at night. Projects hologram woman figure in room. Guests see it. Panic. Die. David, but who placed it? Marcus. Michael. He protected his father's system, and to hide his father's sins, he turned room 348 into a cursed room, so nobody uses that room. The hidden camera system isn't discovered. David, but 4 people died. Michael committed premeditated murder. David went to Detroit police with the evidence. Michael Thompson was arrested. Murder charges causing the deaths of 4 people, willful endangerment. Michael's defense: I just wanted to protect my father's secret. I didn't want them to die, I just wanted to scare them. But the jury found Michael guilty. In 2025, the court sentenced Michael Thompson to life imprisonment for 4 separate murder charges. David made his closing statement in front of the camera. Room 348. It was more than just a room. It was a symbol of Gregory Thompson's illegal operation, and his son Michael, to cover his father's sins, turned that room into a killing ground. 4 innocent people died just because they stayed in the wrong room. Thomas Brennan, Jennifer Caldwell, Harold Stevens, Ashley Palmer, all at different stages of their lives, but all took their last breath in room 348 because of fear, because of a manipulated fake ghost. Margaret Lawson, when she died in 1987, Gregory Thompson silenced her, and 30 years later, Margaret's ghost, not real, but a projected image, killed 4 more people. Justice was delayed, but it came eventually. Michael Thompson will spend the rest of his life in prison. The Riverside Grand Hotel permanently closed room 348. Concrete was poured into the walls. No guest will ever enter that room again. But the story isn't over, because in Detroit, in other hotels, in other rooms, there may be other secrets, maybe other Gregory Thompsons, maybe other Margarets. Our job is to find them, uncover the truth, deliver justice. The Dark Case Files team will see you in the next case. Remember, every room tells a story, but some rooms tell of murder. Camera fades. David sits in his office. On the desk, an old photo of room 348, and Margaret Lawson's photo. David looks at the photo, nods. Rest in peace, Margaret. Now everyone knows your story. Screen goes black. Next episode preview. A family was found dead in their suburban home. 5 people. Police said domestic murder-suicide, but neighbors said something else. That night there were 6 people in the house. 5 died. The 6th one disappeared. Who, where, and why, in the next Dark Case Files episode.